Once I do, should I lock the door? Oh, let's get this. Where's my clicker? We're going to do a little mini self-assessment. How many of you have done DISC before? Oh, good. Okay. D. You have. All right. This is going to be tough. Laura, Teresa, Robin, Beverly, Faith, Sappy. We went out of order. That's why you came in late. Now, Timera. Yes. Jamie. The other Laura. Eva. Dee. Denise. Kelly. Mary. And Wendy. Becky. Eddie. Gwendolyn. Okay, I can go home now, right? That's it. That's all we got. Okay. So what we are going to do is we're going to make this a little bit more interactive. So you can't leave now that you heard that. Okay? It won't be scary, I promise. You're like rolling your eyes at me. All right, but before I get into it, before walking you through an assessment, of course I have to do a few crazy things because that's what I do. I have to tell a story. For those of you who didn't see the keynote, I have a bit of an adventure. So I found myself 150 feet in the air, clinging to the side of a mountain. My hands were hurting. My arms were shaking. I was hungry. I was tired. I was crabby. And there were no handholds. I had another 50 feet to go up, and I certainly didn't want to go down 150 feet because it took me a long time to get up there. And I had a helper down below screaming out to me, "You can do it! Go for it!" And I had the guide up above saying, "I got you. You can do this." And I'm screaming up at him, "I can't do this. There's no handhold." I'm sobbing. I'm like, and I did say a few other things that I'm not allowed to say here. But mostly it was, "I can't do it." And he said, "Yes, you can do this. Just jump." Did I mention that I was 150 feet in the air? Jump. After a few minutes, I realized that was the only option. I had to jump to the next handhold that was about 6 inches above where I could have reached it. So I did. And I got it for about 3 seconds. And then my fingers slipped, and I came crashing into the mountain once, twice, 3 times, until the ropes pulled up. The guide had saved my life. But I was now 148 feet in the air, and not only was I hungry and crabby and tired, but now I was a little bit bloody and bruised, and I wasn't happy. But what had happened was I had fallen into a better place. The handholds here were closer together, better for my 5'2" frame, and I was able to make it to the top of the mountain. What's the moral to this story? Because I told you there's always a lesson. What I realized is sometimes when we fall into a better place. And often in life we run into challenges, we run into struggles, but if we look around for the lesson, it's always there. And sometimes we can end up getting to where we want to go faster when we fall. So embrace those moments. And the second thing is how imperative it is to surround ourselves with empowering people, with people who lift you up, who tell you, "I got you." So this is about creating that team for yourself. And if you're given a team that you have to work with, as opposed to being able to seek one out, how to communicate more effectively with them to create a better, more positive atmosphere. This is going to be more for communicating with the other adults in your world on how to work together more effectively to help children better, but you'll be able to incorporate it in any capacity. just outside of your comfort zone. All of the most amazing jobs and relationships, the highest income, the coolest experiences are typically just outside of where your comfort zone is. So I do crazy things because I want to live in the world where the magic happens. But you don't have to do crazy things. I'm just going to encourage you each and every day to do one thing that takes you out of your comfort zone so that you can expand your circle a little bit every day so that it at least intersects the other one, if not taking it over. So I will ask you to do one or two things today that might be mildly uncomfortable for you, so just consider it a lesson in expanding the circle. When we get too caught up in the busyness of the world, we lose connection with one another and ourselves. Jack Cornfield. So I know this happens. Does anyone here ever get stressed or kind of busy or ever? No? Okay, good, thank you. I'm not alone. I love that. The world gets a little crazy, so we have to make sure to find those times, those quiet moments, to be able to create the connections. Okay. Another circle analogy. Each of the hearts in the circle represent different people, obviously. So it's you, it's the parents, the teachers, the coaches. Everybody is around the circle, right? So we just have to remember that the child is in the center, and so that we're all working together to shower the child with all of the resources and support and love and experience that they require. So the reason why I'm talking about what I'm talking about today is oftentimes there's a disconnect here. If there's miscommunications between the people that are supposed to be working together in the circle to help the child, if there's miscommunications there, it's going to directly impact what the child receives. Oh, one last one. Come on. I'm in the circle thing. Bear with me. Okay. Imagine a big circle in the middle of the floor. And inside of the circle, in the very center, is an issue. I'm going to use taking out the garbage as my issue just for fun. So the center is, from my perspective here, I'm thinking, well, you know what, I'd really like my husband to take out the garbage. But when I asked him the last time, he didn't do it. And I'm a little irritated. I work very hard. I, take care of the kids too, and I think he should take out the garbage. So that's from my perspective, and fairly legitimate perspective. But if I were to walk around the circle and look at the exact same issue in the center from my fictitious husband's point of view, he might say, well, you know what, I understand, but I do a lot to support the family, and the last time I took out the garbage, she didn't even say thank you. She got busy with something else. If she had said thank you, or even gone so far as to wrap her arms around my neck and give me a kiss, I would seek out ways, seek out chores. So from that perspective, that's valid too. So my point is simply this. We don't have to always walk all the way around the circle, but you're talking a lot about perspective. If you have a particular issue in the center, sometimes you only have to take one or two steps to see it from a different perspective so that you can come to a legitimate compromise. So we're going to be talking about perspective a lot over the next hour or so. One of the last pages in your handout, some of you don't have handouts, hold on a second. Who doesn't have a handout, please raise your hand. Not to put you on the spot, right? Okay, so now I have to add some more. Patsy, Evelyn? Evelyn? Oh, you have one, okay. And what was your name though? Claudia. Patsy, Evelyn, Claudia. Hi, welcome. What's your name? Franya? Okay, nice to meet you. All right, so we're going to do at the very end of the packet is a sheet that looks like this. We're going to do a 30-second little quiz. Please, you can just tear it off. It's one of the last sheets. Tear it off, put it in front of you, and I'll explain what we're going to do. I have to get my timer out. Don't do anything yet. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And what I want you to do is to go through the sheet and find the numbers in order and circle them. So you don't do it yet. You find 1, you circle it. Next is 2, you circle it. 3, circle it until you get until I say it's time to stop. Promise there will be a point at the end. Ready? Go. Stop. How do we do? What did we get up to? 12. 12, 14. Good. Okay. Now, there's one more sheet. Bear with me, another 30 seconds. One more sheet. So you go back again. Tear that one off. I'm going to give you a couple of instructions and we're going to do it one more time. Don't start yet. So at the very top of the page, the numbers in the center are 13 and 34. Draw a line directly down the middle of the entire page. Directly down the middle, straight down. Oh, we did come back to vertical. Now on the side, there's 33 and 15. You're going to draw a line directly across the center. So you've made 4 quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops, I'm off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So now, what's going to happen is that you're going to do it again, but this time you're going to find 1 in quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got it? All right, ready? Go. Stop. How'd we do? 18. 20. Good. Anyone have higher than 20?
21.
21. Go, Eddie. Excellent. So the whole point of this is that when we have a system, we can be more effective and efficient with our time, more productive. So we're going to use, as an introduction, we're going to use the DISC model as our system to discuss communication. Now, I believe Dee was the only one who's actually done a DISC assessment, which I actually think is awesome because this will be introducing you to something new. And it's a great tool. Let me explain a little bit about DISC. What it is, right now we're going to be doing just a few questions, 4 questions, that will help you decipher the 4 primary dominant styles. When you do an actual DISC assessment, you can do them online or in person, but there's like 20 questions, they're forced response, they validate each other, and then you get back, it's like a 17-page printout of your style, not just your dominant style, but a graph of how the lowest, the highest, and what it all means and how you can use it to communicate more effectively. I love DISC because it's a behavioral assessment. Who here has done Myers-Briggs? Okay, yeah, usually that's a little bit more predominant. Great, amazing, amazing tool. But that's more of a personality assessment so that when you take it at different times in your life, focusing on different things, it's pretty much going to be the same. With DISC, if you're focusing on different things, it might vary slightly. And we use it, because it's behavior-based, we can use it very, very effectively to figure out how we can understand our own style of communicating, where we're most comfortable, how we can use our style to reduce stress, but also how we can adapt at times to communicate more effectively. Does Has anyone here ever had a miscommunication with someone that they're working with? It is a huge, huge time waster. It's a stress inducer, and when you can learn just some subtle tools on why the other person needs what they need, it's a little bit easier to be able to adapt to be more effective and reduce some of those miscommunications. That's just one thing off the top. There are a lot of different ways that you can use this. Today, we're going to be focusing on how you behave in your work atmosphere. Now, if you were to do this at another time and focus on how you are at home, like I said, it might be a little bit different, but I want you to focus when you're answering the questions on how you are most comfortable behaving in a work atmosphere, and that way we can break into groups and figure out how this can serve us. Are you ready? Yes, excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions, and I will ask you to do something. It's just something very minor so that we can figure out who's who. First question, are you outgoing and direct, or reserved and indirect? Think for a moment, and once you have your answer, if you are outgoing and direct, please stand up. If you are reserved and indirect, you can stay seated. Good. Okay. Excellent. So this next question, and just so if some of you are sitting there thinking, this one's an easy one, but if some of you are going to sit here and think over the next couple of questions, oh, this is kind of hard, I might be both, it's a forced response, so just try to pick one that's most like you. Okay, so this next question is only for the people that are standing. Do you find yourself more competitive and directing, or more talkative and interactive? Think about it for a moment. This might be one of those that's a little bit more difficult. If you are more competitive and directing, just stay standing where you are. Sorry, Dee, you're like me, you can't see behind you, little pint-sized one. Or more talkative and interactive. If you're more talkative and interactive, please make your way just over here to the side. Thank you. Great. And you talkative and interactive ones, don't disrupt us. All right, the next question is only for the people that are seated. Are you more accepting and doing, or more assessing and thinking? If you are more accepting and doing, please stay seated but raise your hand. If you're more assessing and thinking, just stay where you are. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what your dominant style is. Those of you that are standing that haven't moved, hi D. Those of you that are over here unbelievably suppressing your urge to talk to each other, kudos to you, hi I's. The people that are seated with your hands raised, hi S. And those of you who are seated but haven't moved, hi C. D, I, S, C. Got it? You can go sit down. Okay. Now D, is it what you came out with before? Is it the same?
Honestly, I can't remember.
You can't remember. It was a while ago, right? Okay.
About 7 years.
Oh, okay. All right. I understand. Now what we're going to do is we're going to learn a little bit more about each of the dominant styles and break you up a little bit into groups so that we can figure out what each group needs, and then we'll learn from each other. Okay? So high D's tend to be more dominant, risk takers, leaders. They're willing to take action. They like results. Is that accurate, D's? Yes? Okay, good. High I's tend to be people. They like interacting with other people. They tend to be good at presenting or speaking, sales, and there could occasionally be a messy desk or two in there. See, I can tease the high I's because I am one. High S's They tend to be very stable, steady, easygoing, good team players, loyal. Does this seem accurate? S's? Yes. Good. Oh, maybe a little resistant to change. Okay. Sometimes. Occasionally. And our high C's. Our high C's tend to be very analytical. They like to cross the T's and dot the I's. They value quality, and they really don't have as much need for that same interaction that perhaps a high I would. Is that accurate, high C's? That we're seated. Okay, good. Now, I want to first acknowledge the fact that these 4 dominant styles that we're talking about right now, it's almost like we're going to be talking stereotypes just so you can learn what they are in a 90-minute session. Like I said, if you were to do the full assessment, you would find a lot more intricacies because there's not just 4 different types of people out there, right? So it depends on, maybe you're dominant, but you'll behave differently if your high C is low versus your high C is high. So it's all cumulative of how they work together. But we're just going to use this as an example. So the key is first to recognize the benefits to each of the styles, to understand that everybody has value to bring to the table, and we need different styles on a team. Now the problem is that because we come in from our perspective, and we are seeing things the way we see them and don't realize sometimes that the other styles, even though we may behave differently in a way that you wouldn't behave, that the styles are still valid and bring a lot of benefit to the team. So we're really going to focus on that today. So let's just go through and quickly learn a little bit about each style, and then we're going to break up into the groups. Has anyone here ever seen the old show Cheers? Have you seen Cheers? Good. Okay, I'm going to use that as an example to help pick out the different styles because it's a show filled with stereotypes, so it's easy to do. So we're going to use that. If you're not familiar with it, I'll go into some other examples for you as well. But our high D's, on Cheers, who might be someone who is very dominant, direct person on Cheers? Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just so we can help to pick out. Because what happens sometimes in this is that we know right away who we are. But we want to, if we're going to learn how to adapt our behavior to be more effective with other people, we need to be able to pick them out.
Blonde. Shelley?
Shelley was a high D, yes. Good.
So was the part that Allie Kirsty played. She was on it later.
I don't remember. Oh, yes. Tall, dark hair, long dark hair. Yes. There's another one that's a more obvious.
I forgot her name. She was the waitress.
Rita?
Carla, right? She will tell you hands down how she feels every time, and so that's the epitome of a high D. Yes. Okay. So high Ds. If you want to interact more effectively with a high D, and you're not a high D, some recommendations for you are they like brief, direct communication. They like to when you let them initiate. They like to focus on results, and they prefer independence. So if you're working with someone who is a high D, giving them the ability to initiate, to go off and work on a project is going to make them feel good, to be able to take action and use their resources to do so. Well, I'll ask that next question after we break up into our groups. But the high Ds are really important because if you don't have high Ds on your team to be able to take action, sometimes you get caught up in the going back and forth about the decision process and things don't get done. So we need our high Ds. Really, really important. Next, high Is. Who were our high Is again? Good. Can I point something out to you guys? The way that I did it with when you raise your hand or move, I had the people that are more active do the actions of moving and standing, and I left people that are less comfortable doing that seated, which we're going to get to. For those of you in the room, I have to say this because some of you will be or are currently wildly uncomfortable with me, with my style. And some of you might resonate with you. And it has a lot to do with disc. And I'll explain in a little bit after we do an exercise why it's important to recognize that in a sales situation or a one-on-one situation. But I'm just letting you know that I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, those of you who are right now, but I'm totally immersed in my high presenter role, so I'm using more of my I than I might otherwise, but you'll understand why. High I's. Who on Cheers is a high I? Sam, yes. Charming, talks to anybody. Yes. I think there's one other one that, who? Woody. Yes, Sam and Woody are high I's. Very high interpersonal skills. Probably a little messy. High I's need friendly interaction. They like to be able to talk things through. They need to be able to verbalize their thoughts and feelings. And so some people who don't, it doesn't come to them naturally, have to understand that a high I, when you're communicating with them, really needs that. That's how they work through things. They like public recognition for accomplishments. Did I mention that I was a high I? And they need written details. So what I mean is not that they're necessarily going to do it, but if you want them to do multiple steps, probably a good idea to write it down for those high I's. Why do we need high I's on a team? You're a high I, Robin, aren't you? Yeah. So why is it important to have a high I on a team?
I know for me to bring everyone together, teamwork, to see what's going on, to see how that other person is feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
I usually say things that people want to say.
Oh, you know what? That's really interesting. I haven't heard it put that way. I love that. That's so true. They're willing and able to verbalize some of the things that are harder for some other people to say, and they bring people together. And so it's really important in a team atmosphere to be able to have an I, to be able to bring people together, to open people up, and to keep it as a positive atmosphere. Excellent. High S's. We had some high S's here. This tends to be a little bit harder to pick out our high S's because they're not as in your face as our T's and I's are. So, who on Cheers would be a high S? Yes, actually, yes. Yeah, sitting in the same seat, drinking the same beer at the same time every day. Yes, good, good. Because our high S's like consistency. So that's good. It's usually a little harder to pick that out. If you are not a high S but want to increase your effectiveness with a high S, they like relaxed cooperation. Like I mentioned, they're team players. They appreciate consistency and stability. And they like sincere appreciation. You don't have to throw roses and stand and clap for them, but if they really would like maybe a handwritten note or a handshake or a pat on the back. They like that their contribution is important to the overall good. They really like to work as a team and know that they're contributing to something that makes a difference, that means something. So make sure that you keep them involved in the vision of the team. So, high S's. D-U-R. Eva, you are as well? Yeah. So would you guys like to contribute why high S's are important to a team?
Have control of what's going on and be able to be, a good part of the team or contribute, be able to contribute to something.
Yeah. Yeah. And the high S's are really good at following through and making sure that, maybe the I's would come up with some crazy idea to do, but then maybe get a little bored and move on to something else. So high S's really take it and can run with it and make it happen. Yeah, very good. Yes, Dee.
And then that stability factor. Like you were saying, sometimes in a group you're going off in directions and you have to bring people back.
You need that grounding.
Calm people down
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes. Oh, it's so important. Just a quick story. I used to be married to an S, and learning this was really, really effective in helping us communicate for the time. My twins were born 18 months after my first was born. So I had 3 18 months and under at home, and I was still doing some work on the side. So when he would get home from the office, my inclination as a high I is to have one kid football hold under here and one hanging on it and just throw him at him. Say, here, hey, you wouldn't believe what happened to me, with the hair sticking straight up. A high S would be like, that's assaulting him. Right, so once I recognized what I needed to do and what he needed to be able to have 10 minutes to walk in the door, to go get changed, to relax, to sit down, and then he'd handle whatever I threw at him. But if I didn't give him that 10 minutes, the whole rest of the evening was stressful. So that's just an example of how you can slightly modify your behavior to be more effective working with people of different styles. How about our high C's? Who on Cheers would be a high C? More conservative, more analytical. Fraser, definitely. Definitely Fraser. Who was the other one?
I thought it was the Shelley Long's character.
I think Shelley Long has some C in her, but probably a little bit more D.
The guy who worked for the post office, he had that his name.
Right, I can't imagine.
No, he's more of an S. There's a real obvious one, and I know you know who it is because I can see it in your eyes.
Fraser's wife?
Yes, Lilith. Lilith, she, with the hair back in a bun and sitting like this the whole time. It's like I said, it's a stereotype for you high C's. Don't be offended. It's a total stereotype. And can I just tell you that she's an excellent actress because I used to dance with her, and she totally is not a C. Totally not a C out there. Total high I. So that's how we can adapt, right? So if you're working with a high C and you're not one, what they need is they need clear expectations and deadlines. They really appreciate that. They like precision and focus. They don't need all the socializing. So if you're a high I and you want your high C to get something done, you don't need to talk about the weather or anything else going on, okay? They're high standards to be valued. That's what they like to be appreciated for, that their accuracy, their high standards, that's important to them, right? And you're a high C, right? Yes? Okay, wait. Oh, you came in late, don't tell me. Your name starts with a C too? Or are you just saying she's a high C?
No, my name starts.
Your name starts with a C? Okay, help me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Sorry, my primary English is Spanish. I understand everything you say, but my English is not.
Oh, no, actually, we can understand you perfectly, but could you tell me your name again?
Frania.
Frania, yeah. Thank you. I'm like, you were throwing me with the whole C thing. I would have gotten it.
In that direction, I'm sorry.
It was Claudia, right? Yes, okay. All right, now I understand. Now we're on the same page, okay. Totally messing with me, Beverly. Okay. So, Claudia, you're also a high C, right? Can you tell us another way that high C's really bring something to the team? Why do we need our high C's?
The analyzing part is really to be able to take apart a problem and then try to put it back together, resolve it.
Right. Yeah, it's important that the high C's really bring that level of accuracy and analyzation to the table to make sure things are done right. Excellent. Good. So you can understand why it's important to have each of the different styles. Right. Oops. Yeah, we're going to get back to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise in the groups. How about we move our D's here. Wait, do we have a table that has a lot of one style? You guys are mostly I's? No? 3 I's. Okay. All right, I'm just going to tell you where to go. I'm not going to make it easy on you. We're working on stepping outside of our comfort zone anyway. D's are going to come here. I's are going to go sit over there for a minute. S's will come here. and C's will come here. Okay? Bring a pen. Oh, there are pens on the table, never mind.